Hey, it's JK. You know, with the Dark Souls 1 one-shot contest video finally released a couple months ago, a new contest now starting, and my wife taking on a one-shot challenge herself, it felt like the right time to dust off one other idea I had for one-shotting the bosses of Dark Souls 1. So this time, I'm going to try and do it using only Sorcery. Now, let me be honest with you. I had initially thought this was going to be a somewhat straightforward run. I mean, Sorcery is heralded as one of the most overpowered methods of dealing damage in the whole game, right? Well, I was very wrong. This ended up being very different from almost any other run I've done, and believe me when I say it went off the rails. Also above the rails, below the rails, and even inside the rails. So let's dive into the insanity that was the Dark Souls Sorcery only one-shot run. First, we create a character that ended up being a physical representation of how I felt after completing this run. What kind of job do you think this guy would work if he existed in real life? Let me know in the comments below. We actually start as the Pyromancer class controversially, and we of course choose the Master Key. You see, the run doesn't begin until we leave the Asylum, so anything we do now doesn't count because there's no way to one-shot the Asylum demon without executing a glitch to leave him alive. So we smash Oscar in the face for the Estus Flask, ask the Asylum demon some important questions, and then take Croatia Airlines to land in Firelink Shrine. Here, we stick our souls into Intelligence, take the lift down below Firelink, and speak to Rickett to buy the Sorcerer's Catalyst. We run through Valley of Drakes, grabbing the relevant popper balls before taking this dirt route down into Blighttown. The reason we picked Pyromancer is because we of course want to grab Power Within, and Pyromancy Flames are locked behind Capra Demon or Quelaag otherwise. After a pretty horrible rundown, we make the bonfire, but then climb back up to grab the Sorcery Remedy, as we can actually use it with our build, and it'll make our life just a little bit easier here. We use the popper balls to boost our intelligence so we can use it, and then make the ever horrible run up through the other side of Blighttown, with Remedy definitely coming in clutch. We finally make it to the wall parasite, but I of course forgot to bring anything to actually kill it with. Oops. After a few instances of being made one with this wooden wall, we finally grab Power Within, giving a 40% damage boost for 100 seconds at a cost of losing 1% of our health each second. Thankfully, we can now get the hell out of here. As luck would have it, the one time I actually do have Remedy, the Blow Dart guy misses me as I try to escape. Now that really is toxic. Worth noting that we did also grab the Tin Banishment Catalyst in here, but it has lower magic adjust than the Sorcerer's Catalyst. The Sorcerer's Catalyst actually has the best magic adjust before you can get to the Duke's Archives, with only the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, Logan's Catalyst, and Manus's Catalyst ranking higher in this stat, so we'll be sticking with this until we get there. Because it would probably be good for me to have a way to defend myself, I buy Great Soul Arrow from Rickett before running back through the Valley of Kendricks to activate this bonfire. Of course, it goes without saying that we grab the red Tearstone Ring for 50% more damage when we're under 20% health. Oh wait, I actually did just say it. So the Hydra. You're probably thinking I'm getting ahead of myself and this is way too early to take him out, but I felt we needed to get every buff possible as soon as we could. As per the rules, it's only the bosses that I need to one-shot, so anything else I can do whatever I want. So after some awkward free aiming, we eventually wish goodbye to this annoying creature. We then level up to 24 intelligence, slowly and painfully kill the crystal golem. God damn it. To be fair, my fault for not bringing more ammo. Anyway, we speak to Dusk here, summon Dusk here, and manage to speak to her right before Dusk gets punched right in the face by a golem. Oops. This grants us her clothes, including a helmet which boosts magic damage by 20%. Now, we still have a couple more items we need. First, we run through the reverse route of Undead Burg, grabbing the basement key. We then take this route underneath the bridge, unlocking the shortcut down to this bonfire here. The Cranky Tosser merchant begrudgingly sells us the residence key before we head onto the bridge to use the basement key to go through this door. We then take out these dogged enemies and use the residence key to free Griggs, a crucial NPC for this run. But of course we now need a lot of souls. So I met the Red Kite Drake here to activate his appearance on the bridge above. Right, let's go get some... Hey, what the... Was that one of the Lords of the Fallen? So after approximately 2 runs of doing this, I got bored and I just used the soul dupe glitch to save time. We now buy the Bellowing Dragoncrest Ring for another 20% boost to Sorcery, and also grab most of his spells. With our intelligence now boosted to 30, how about we try one-shotting a boss? Taurus Demon seems like a good call. The strongest spell we could buy from Griggs is the Great Heavy Soul Arrow. With the Crown of Dusk, Red Tearstone Ring, Bellowing Dragoncrest Ring, and Power Within, our Great Heavy Soul Arrow deals 1293 damage, which does in fact one-shot the Taurus demon. Just. We literally only managed it by 78 damage, which isn't really a good sign for things to come. As it's Taurus, I guess you could say it's not a good star sign for things to come. So, before we head up to the gargoyles, it feels like a good time to mention one thing. Many of you in the melee one-shot video commented about summoning another player who had the channel as Trident, getting them to buff you with the dance, and then banish them to give you a further power boost. While I believe this technically would work, the buff lasts for just 30 seconds, so the timing to banish the other player, get into the fight, and execute the one-shot would be extremely tight. I also didn't have someone to help me with this at the time I was doing this run, but apart from maybe like 1 or 2 situations we'll encounter, this honestly wouldn't have made much of a difference. With that covered, let's try the Bell Gargoyles. With all the buffs, we again deal 1293 damage, which is enough to one-shot the first gargoyle with Great Heavy Soul Arrow, and of course easily enough to one-shot the second. I'd say the key here for killing these guys was definitely the bellowing Dragon Crest ring. The first bell is rung and we're off to a good start. We then upgrade intelligence to 32, give this guy a soul boot to Lautrec his plans, and now it's time for what will inevitably be one of the biggest roadblocks of the run, Quelaag. For further upgrades to our sorceries, we need to get into Sen's fortress, so this is the logical choice for the next boss. But she has 3139 HP, so with all our buffs applied, we fire Great Heavy Soul Arrow and 1196 damage, about a third of her health. Okay, but that was to her spider body. Her human body is actually a weak point, so shooting it will do more damage. We free aim up and we get 1795. Okay, so it's pretty much a 50% damage boost, but we're still lacking a lot of damage there. There is one thing we can do to boost our damage though. We can level up intelligence. First, let's get up to 51 intelligence and see how we do. There's no point aiming for anywhere but the human body, so once again we free aim up and 2082. It's closer, but still a long way away. I didn't really feel like this was going to help, to be honest, but I pushed intelligence all the way up to 99 to see what would happen. Now, this did help, but it only gave us 156 more points of damage. Still a long way from success. So, what do we do? There's no better catalyst we can get, no other buffs we can apply apart from the channel as Trident, which to be fair still wouldn't give us the damage needed, and no other better spells we can acquire. Well, that's when something incredible happened. A message on the floor was actually useful. Try bug. You might have noted that at the beginning of most of these kind of videos, I usually say no glitches, but with this run, given that we had basically already hit a roadblock that would end the run here, I decided, why the hell not? I never normally do this, so might be fun. So I decided to channel the spirit of famous Souls YouTuber Ryan Gosling and go to work. I believe this is traditionally known as the Sen skip, but to keep things thematic, I'm dubbing this the Place Beyond the Pines. Quite simply, we need to get our back to this pillar on the stairs, parry this hollow, and then execute a riposte. Doing this puts the camera at this crazy top-down view and messes up the controls really badly. They're kind of like tank controls now, and it's pretty awful to control. We can guide our character down the stairs, at which point we completely lose visibility, making this situation even worse. We're now by the bonfire above Andre, and we want to take the route towards Sen's. After a lot of messing about, I managed to figure it out, and we can guide our character below an unloaded Sen's fortress. Once we see the area name pop up, we can quit out of the game and reload to find we've made it past the gate. I obviously save stated at this point because if we die, we've got to repeat that whole glitch. Further in the fortress, I bait this snake man into breaking the wall, take him out with soul arrows, and free Giant Hat Wolverine, who will now return to Firelink Shrine. Speaking of returning, we use the Dark Sign to return to the bonfire above Andre. Logan now sells us Soul Spear, a more powerful sorcery than any we found so far, and we also buy Homing Soul Mass just because we can. So back once again. With our new spell in tow, can we swat this pesky spider? We aim for the body and 2,908 damage. Still just over 200 points short. Damn, how Quelaaggravating. So yeah, here, channel as Trident probably would have made the difference, but it wouldn't actually have helped in the long run. More on that later. Just for the hell of it, I tried with Homing Soul Mass. For some bizarre reason, it actually did more damage hitting the spider body than Soul Spear did. In fact, if there was a way to get these blasts to hit Quelaag's human body, it would be enough for the one-shot. But the problem is, they only ever fire at the part of the boss's body you can lock onto, which in this case is the spider bit just below the human body. If there was a way to position yourself in the air so that you were between Quelaag's human body and the lock-on point on her spider body, it would actually be possible, but I'm not really sure how you could set that up. That didn't stop me from trying a few more times though. But after a while, it became pretty clear this wasn't going to happen, and once again, we were stuck. So what to do? Well, once again, I executed the place beyond the pines and made my way into Sen's fortress. After making some snake pate, we run all the way up the fortress to the bonfire, but before realizing I don't really know if I want to rest at this as it means I'm locked in here. We'll leave it for now. We blast down the giant and prepare to try the iron golem. I was feeling pretty good about this one, honestly, although it turns out I shouldn't have. Yep, not even close. The golem has 2,880 HP, so we're actually over 1,000 points of damage away. His defenses really are ironclad. I tried with homing soul mass, which just like with Quelaag, did do a bit more damage, but still quite a way away. Now, in theory, I think you could hit the golem with an instability hit when he jumps back, which would deal 40% more damage. I never actually managed to land this as he does this jump very infrequently, and I could never seem to react in time, but even so, instability is 40% more damage, which still wouldn't be enough with either attack. Now, if you got instability damage and had the Channeler's Trident buff active too, then yes, that would in theory be enough, but yeah, good luck banishing the other player and pulling this off in 30 seconds. So once again, we were stuck. You noticing a theme here? There was only one thing for it, time to pull out another Ryan Gosling special. This is known as the Golem Skip, but I'm calling it the Big Short. Here, we want to land a running attack on the golem with a big weapon with an overhead swing. This isn't easy to do, but if you do manage it, you can actually get flung into Anor Londo. But the timing and angle you have to hit him is very precise, and if you do it wrong, this happens. And this happened to me a lot. I spoke to my guy NG Plus quite a bit about this one. His video where he beat the Dark Souls bosses in alphabetical order was really crucial in helping me figure out the angle. I actually weirdly did it with just a normal attack once, which I didn't think was possible, but there we are. Learn something new. But finally, after a few hours of trying, I ran at just the right angle, swung, and ended up in Anor Londo. Now, this isn't the end of the skip. You need to execute a wrong warp, basically using the dark sign and then closing the game just as the loading screen ends to finally Anor Londo in Anor Londo. We did it. So we proceed through, blasting these Ian the Painting guards on the rafters. My goal here is to get to the Duke's archives, where pretty much all the remaining upgrades to our build are locked away in. I take out the annoying Silver Knight Archer and go to give Ornstein and Smough a try. We must defeat them if we want to enter the archives, so with our damage as it is, defeating Phase 1 Ornstein is easily within reach as he has just 1642 HP. Of course, right afterwards, we get hit by nothing and die, but to be honest, Phase 2 Smough has 4094 HP, which, yeah, there's no way that's happening. For Phase 1 Smough, we deal 1959 damage against his 2645 health, so we're quite a bit short here. But the good news is that instability damage is definitely on the table. I tried homing Soul Mass and somehow managed to get it to fire up and hit Smough as he was in mid-air above my head. I probably couldn't repeat that ever again, but from the numbers there, it did make me think that hitting him with a Soul Spear while jumping might just be enough. As a side note, I don't really know why this is, but homing Soul Mass did less damage against Ornstein and Smough than Soul Spear did, which is odd because against Quelaag and Iron Golem, it had actually done more damage. If anyone knows why this might be, let me know in the comments because that's pretty strange, I can't figure it out. But anyway, Smough's jump felt a little more common and predictable than the Iron Golem's, and I was able to nail a Soul Spear just as he was still in his jump animation when he landed, proving that Soul Spear was enough to finish him under these conditions. As long as I didn't get slayed by Ornstein right after, of course. Always know how to crush my spirits there, Ornstein. Next time, I managed to survive but missed the attack on Ornstein. Finally, I managed to take out Smough again and actually land my attack on Phase 2 Ornstein. 1945 damage. He wasn't jumping of course, so no instability damage, but even with that, we'd still be over 200 points of damage short. I tried a bunch more, but never managed to land the instability hit. It must be possible, but again, it won't help us. So once again, we were stuck. What the hell do we do now? Well, there is another way we can get into the Duke's archives, but I lack an item for it, and unfortunately, it's back down in Firelink Shrine. Now, strangely, we can actually take the imp lift back down to Sen's fortress. The Iron Golem is actually here in his boss arena, but he's sleeping, I guess? Now, we can't exit the boss arena due to the fog door, and even if we go near it, the golem will activate. But don't worry, because we have another way out, the Fall Guy. With full control active, we run off the side here and quit to the title menu just as we land in the death animation. Once we reload, we end up here in this crazy normally inaccessible area. Guess this place was censored from the final cut of the game. Walking here is pretty weird. We bounce up and down occasionally, float above the ground as we descend, and even have the ability to walk through walls, breaking the very boundaries of reality. But all of this sensory overload just makes me realize one thing. I've gone the wrong way. So off into oblivion I go. After doing the Fall Guy again, I figured out where I needed to go. Through this railing, down to here, then off onto this railing, and then drop off here, doing the Fall Guy glitch once again by exiting as we die. Reload, and boom, back outside Sen's fortress. We mission back to Firelink, speak to Griggs again, and buy the lingering Dragon Crest ring. I also upgraded my Estus flask while I'm here, and then homeward bone back to Anor Londo. So now it's time for yet another skip, one that should allow me to get into the Duke's archives. I call this one Drive, and I'll explain why in a little bit. We need full control again, and we need to make sure our character is between 25 and 30% of their max weight load. By doing this, we can roll off the edge and keep rolling by mashing the roll button, causing us to keep rolling in midair. Now, what should happen with full control active is I should survive the fall and be able to run around with a top-down view like we had earlier when we skipped into Sen's. But for some reason, I could not get this to work. I tried over and over before I realized the issue. I actually don't have enough stamina. I was running out before the bottom, meaning I couldn't execute the final roll. The final roll, of course, being the most important one because it stops you from dying. So, after leveling up stamina, I tried again, and this time I nailed it. But now begins the real problem. With the god-awful tank controls, I need to now steer my character back onto the lift and run all the way to the Duke's archives. But the problem is, I die as soon as full control ends, giving us a total of 67.5 seconds with the lingering Dragon Crest ring on. But steering this is even more difficult than before, and the pressure of the time limit certainly doesn't help things. The reason I called this Drive? Because it's a nightmare to steer. The time limit is also extremely tight. If you waste even 1 second because you get stuck due to running to the wrong place due to the scuff controls and terrible visibility, it's game over. It's actually horrible to even watch this footage back. The game also slows down horrendously at points if you get stuck, annihilating the frame rate. The furthest I ever managed to get was up the stairs here, just before the wooded bit before the golden fog gate, but the problem is the camera now moves to a new position and the controls just seem to go haywire. I mean, even more so than before. I tried this for hours, literally. But every time this bit messed me up, and there seemed to be no way I could course correct, ending with me running around in circles until my inevitable death. I think this attempt here was the furthest I managed to get, but the time limit was just too unforgiving. But thankfully, there was another way. A different skip we can use to get into the archives. I call this one the Blade Runner 2049. First, we jump up this rock here outside the archives onto this rock. We can now slowly edge ourselves forward on the very narrow seam around the area, which is about 1 pixel wide, like the blade of a knife. Every time we fall off, we need to exit out very quickly and reload the game. Otherwise, we just keep falling until we eventually die. This was a pretty slow process, as you might imagine, but I was able to do save states throughout as well, reloading them if things got messed up, and gradually moving closer and closer to our goal. Sometimes we could even make several steps at once. I was at this for about an hour, but unlike the Drive skip, I felt like I was making progress each time. I even started to get the hang of where I could and couldn't walk. At last, I made it to the door with the golden fog gate. Now from here, it was just a matter of jumping at it from the right angle. After I got the position right, I landed through the wall and into the roof bit above the corridor with the boars. My goal was at last in sight. I just had to find a way to drop down to the corridor below. After much jumping around, I was able to find a way to bore through the floor in this corner, and bam, we did it. We entered the Duke's archives without having placed the Lord Vessel. Obviously, everyone's experience will vary, but I found this method a lot easier than trying to do the run with the horrendous controls and camera under a strict time limit. This does actually mean that whole trip back to Firelink to get the ring was unnecessary. Oh well. So what's the plan here? Well, initially I'd wanted to get here to free Logan, get his supply of spells, and a better catalyst, but a lot of what I looked up online said that he doesn't move here until you place the Lord Vessel. But what we can still do is kill the blue golem for the broken pendant, letting us get into the DLC, and hopefully get some of the powerful sorceries hidden there. Just for my own peace of mind though, I backed up my save at the start of the archives, and then died to Seath to go to the prison area just to confirm for definite that Logan wasn't here. I took out all the Hentacle women, and guess what? Logan actually is here, so it must be just entering the archives causes him to move? Hard to say for sure, but we had to rethink our approach. I want to free Logan, but dying to Seath means I'm tied to the prison bonfire and can't homeward bone out to Anor Londo. So it was time for yet another skip, the Duke's Skip, which we dub the First Man. By landing on this rail as the lift goes down, we can then roll off onto this railing. I said roll off onto this railing to skip a big chunk of the archives, including the prison section. We now run on through to grab the giant cell key needed to free Logan, but guess what? There's another snag. I forgot that we can't actually get into the prison section without dying to Seath, because there's this big door which can only be opened with the key behind those snake men by the alarm above Logan's cell. So this leaves us with quite the dilemma. If we do this and free Logan, then we get tethered to the prison bonfire. How do we then escape the archives? Well, I wasn't sure yet, but all I knew was that the risk to get a better catalyst and better spells was worth it. Now, for some reason, this doorway is blocked, so even getting back to the area where we can get to Seath's first encounter requires us to get onto these stairs, turn them, and drop off at just the right time to land on the stairs below. We make our way up the elevator, and then take our lumps from this dragon, ending our Seath fire with him. We can now go back to the cell with Logan in, and free him with the giant cell key. We take out the snakes, grab the cell key, run back to grab this soul of a brave warrior as I realized they actually didn't have any souls, and then find Logan in his new location where we buy up every single spell that he has, including Crystal Soul Spear. We can now kill Logan so he drops the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, the strongest one in the game. That should hopefully allow us to continue this run. I then pump a load of points into strength. Now, how the hell do we get out of here? Thankfully, there is a way, but we need to get back to the very beginning of the Duke's archives to pull it off. Right at the Golden Fog, we can execute a wrong warp, using the dark sign and then closing the game just as the loading screen is going to end. We open the game, and boom, we are back in Anor Londo. I call this trick, Only God Forgives. So, after that incredibly epic mission, can we now finally take out Ornstein and Smough? With the Tin Crystallization Catalyst and Crystal Soul Spear at the ready with all our previous buffs, we enter and blast Smough just as he's about to jump, netting us monster damage due to instability. It was Smough kill, to be honest. With this much damage at our disposal, Ornstein gets speared right in the soul before he can spear us. It was a real spiritual awakening. We finally did it. So now we at last can get the Lord Vessel, giving us that sweet fast travel we've been so in need of. Time to walk back to the Undead Parish. I'm not wasting any time now. The final possible upgrades for our build lie within the DLC, so may as well head there right now. So of course, we get put in a submission hold and dragged in there by Handus and Silver. Ian the Sanctuary Guard literally stood no chance whatsoever as we deal way more damage than necessary, wiping him out with ease. But what about Artorias? He has a lot more health and also damage resistances. Artorias has 3,750 HP, and we managed to do 3,696. 54 HP short of the one-shot. Are you kidding me? Damn, that's so frustrating. Again, yes, Channeler's Trident would push it over the edge this time. I did wonder if I could deal instability damage to hit while he flips, but it appears that isn't the case. As a correction to a previous video, in the melee one-shot video I said that I killed Artorias with counter damage. This actually was inaccurate. What actually happened was that the attack came down above his head as he crouched for the slash, meaning it actually hit twice in the same way a plunge attack does. That's why it worked. The more you know. But anyway, that doesn't help us here. Once again, we're in a situation of, well, now what? Well, we have one last skip to take advantage of. It's pretty much a variation of some of the ones from earlier. We'll call this La La Land. By getting back in 25 to 30% weight load and activating full control, we can roll repeatedly off the edge by this unactivated shortcut elevator down in the abyss and La La Land without taking any damage, effectively skipping Artorias for now. Why is this relevant? Well, you probably know, but in case you don't, I got two words for you. Dark Bead. probably the strongest sorcery in the game. So back to Artorias. No doubt with this in hand we'll easily one-shot 3,717 damage, 33 points of damage short. Nightfall has still not yet been achieved. Just to make sure it didn't miss or something, I tried again but got the same result. Now, there is still a way to make this stronger, but it's kinda controversial. So, using the Soul of Manus, you can get the Manus Catalyst, which actually makes Dark Bead deal even more damage due to its strength scaling. But there's just one problem. I can't one-shot Manus. Not even close. You can see that even with a 40% buff from instability damage, this ain't happening. Not with Dark Bead, and definitely not with Crystal Soul Spear. So look, we've confirmed Artorias and Manus are impossible with the tools we've got at our disposal. Just for the sake of testing, I want to see what Manus' Catalyst can do. So, I two-shot Manus to get his soul, and then underhandedly kill Dusk. Then, I use Manus' soul to turn a Sorcerer's Catalyst into the Manus Catalyst. Before we test this, I just want to confirm one thing though. There's some misinformation online about Dark Bead having a hidden scaling with strength regardless of which catalyst is used, but really it's only Manus' and I believe the Demon's Catalyst which offer this. I currently have 96 strength, which I then boost all the way up to 99. The damage, as we can see, is still the same with Dark Bead as it was before our current setup, so we can put that theory to bead. However, with Manus' Catalyst equipped, Dark Bead does 4,368 damage, easily wiping out Artorias and reigniting my one-shot passions. But of course, this Catalyst was acquired outside of the rules we set, as I was not able to one-shot Manus, so I'm deeming the Artorias one-shot as invalid. This was just more for the sake of seeing if it would. I also won't use the Manus Catalyst for any other bosses unless it's clearly not possible to one-shot them without it. To be honest, I suspect Kalameet will not be possible with or without the Catalyst, but let's try anyway. First, Dragon Eye Goth shoots down Black Hawk Kalameet. So with all buffs active and Manus' Catalyst, we deal 3,045 damage, not even close to Kalameet's 5,400 health. I think even with instability damage and the Channeler's Trident, this still wouldn't be enough, and to be honest, I doubt you could even use the Trident strat given the distance from the Fog Door to actually getting to Kalameet. Yep, so this boss is impossible to sorcery one-shot. Nothing we have comes close to Kalameeting the damage requirements. So having done as much as we could in the DLC, let's clear up the rest of the game at last. First, the Capra Demon. We enter the Fog Gate, and after an immediate Crystal Soul Spear, that's all she goat. For Gaping Dragon, we don't even need Red Tearstone Ring to blast him right in his beady little eyes. The Sunshine Margarine Bug gets swatted easily. We then execute a very sad one-shot, a real tonal sift for the run. Now though, it's time for revenge. Can we finally take out Quelaag? I could have used Bead, but I wanted to blast her in the human body with Crystal Soul Spear. It only felt right. One quick shot later, and we finally quell Quelaag. Oh hey, we can ring the second bell at last. Sens is actually open for real for the first time, closing off one of the central plot points of this run. As we were down here, we might as well do the Izalith Gauntlet. I didn't even bother to aggro Ceaseless Discharge, as we comfortably discharge our spell here to turn him from Ceaseless to just Cease. Dark Bead then easily smoked the Demon Fire Sage, ended the legacy of the Centipede Demon, and then Great Soul Arrow unmade the Bed of Chaos. We then got into a position where we ended up giving Stray Demon a different kind of beads, and then we one-shot the Black Knight and grabbed the Peculiar Doll. Then this scaleless dragon seethed his last breath, and then we head into the catacombs. I grabbed the Dark Moon Seance Ring while we were here, and then showed this Necromancer the magic I wield is stronger than his. I debated whether or not I should kill the skeletons for Nito, but I didn't bother in the end and just managed to get up close with Dark Bead and punished Nito for his misbehavior. Crystal Soul Spear then easily ripped Dark Gwendolyn asunder. We went into the Painted World, sort of against our will. Normally I aggro Priscilla and quit out, but I just thought, fuck it, and blasted her while she was still stationary, easily crossing her off our list. After a quick dive and a glide down, we once again find ourselves in Iron Golem's boss room. So remember how he's just standing there? Well, there's nothing you can do to him, even attacking him doesn't make him aggro. But run to the boss door and he activates. Of course, we are so powerful now that we slay him with no issue. But despite our absolute rampage here, there is still one boss that could cause us issues. I think you probably know what it is. The bane of any Dark Souls one-shot challenge. So we get the key to the seal, drain the water, and prepare for the Four Kings. Ow. So I'm opting for Crystal Soul Spear here, and I'll tell you why shortly. Now remember, because of having to wear the Covenant of Artorias, we only have one ring slot in here, so let's see what the damage is with the Bellowing Dragoncrest ring. Okay, 2057 damage, so about 20% of their overall health. If we use the Red Tearstone ring, we do 2571 damage while under 20% health. The reason I use Crystal Soul Spear is that it can technically go through enemies and hit any enemies standing behind. So in theory, if you were at Red Tearstone range and got 4 kings to stand in a row close enough to each other and fired just at the right time, it would be possible to one-shot them. But I tried for a good couple hours, even running to the boundary of the arena as that apparently makes them stand closer together, but I could never get this to happen. Maybe someday someone will manage it eventually, but for me on this run, I just opted to one-shot the kings individually with Dark Bead, taking a total of 3 shots. Probably would have been 2 with Red Tearstone ring, but anyway, it's done. I made my success soup to show everyone I had beaten the Lord Souls, and then easily blasted Gwyn in the face with Crystal Soul Spear to... God damn it. Okay, there we go. Crystal Soul Spear was really giving degwinishing returns, I tell ya. So, can you sorcery one-shot all the bosses in Dark Souls 1? No, definitely not. I mean, without insane skips, you pretty much can't one-shot any of them. So... hope you enjoyed the video. This was kind of a weird one for sure. Was fun to do something different though. Until next time, I've been JK Leeds. See ya, and have a good one.